Anyways, on this video, we're gonna address the final rust on the exterior of the Nova. Have you ever done your own bodywork and it turned out absolutely horrendous? If so, hit that subscribe button. I'm here with Tyler of Bronson Speed. You've seen him on Autofaze before. Awesome dude, helps me behind the scenes quite a bit. He's an amazing body guy, and he's gonna help us today because obviously, if I was watching this, I'd be hitting the subscribe button myself. You've seen me do the driver's side floors. You've seen his work on the passenger side. I low-key did not share my driver's side because it wasn't, I mean...
It looked great.
No one's going to know, but let's say I don't want anyone laying underneath the car on my side. Let's just say that.
The rust is gone.
So Tyler, what exactly are we going to do today to address that last bit of rust that's on that rocker behind us?
Man, so it's not horrible, it's not huge, it's all the way through, but it's not a huge spot. So we're just going to trim out the rust. We're going to splice in new metal, body work it up, prime it, and it'll be ready for paint hopefully in just a few hours, guys.
That's awesome. I'm gonna learn something. You guys watching are gonna learn something. Hey, let's get after it.
Let's do it. First thing you want to do when addressing rust is assess it and see how much rust you have in the panel. So I've already poked a couple of holes here showing that it's pretty weak over there. So you just take a pick and a hammer and you just go around. See, it's soft there. You just go around seeing how soft it is.
So of course we want to replace all the soft metal then.
Absolutely. You want to cut out anything that is soft, anything that has a little bit of movement, because you can guarantee that there's corrosion even that far back from the hole. So not a big deal. You just want to make sure you get it all the way out of there. Once you assess how far out it is, you just take your tape and you mask off the entire area.
Right.
So that way you know exactly where your rust is, what you're cutting out.
Now if you don't get the soft stuff, eventually that rust will break through like this did. So that's why you see a lot of people that say, I got my such and such I got fixed, but it came back. It's because they didn't get all the soft metal. They just replaced the stuff that you can visibly see.
Yeah, if I had replaced just this hole here, who knows how long it would have started rusting right there. Okay. So you just want to make sure you get it all out of there.
It's the golden rule. If you're going to do it once, do it right.
Absolutely. So after you mark it out and you figure out where you need to cut out, you just take your good old cutoff wheel. You just trace your lines. After we get this done, we'll just inspect the inside and make sure we did in fact get everything. And then we're moving on to the template phase. So oftentimes you can figure out why it started to rust. As you can see by all the smoke, we've caught some on fire. Well, if you look, a rodent's been in there. So they built a nice little home for themselves. Well, what that does is that's going to hold all of the moisture.
Oh man, look at all that stuff
that your rocker panel takes on. And that's just going to create it to rust. That's it right there. Freaking rodents. And there's still plenty in there.
All right, look at those goodies in there.
Yeah.
Man, it's like the treasure chest at the dentist.
Yeah, except you don't want what's in this one.
Oh!
There you have it. All that goodness. That's alright. So, as you can see, that hole was there, but on the back side of the panel,
holy cow.
Rust was all the way across.
Yeah, it was.
So, there's going to be some rust up on both sides, so I'll probably cut a little more out just to start seeing some of this clean metal up here.
You don't think we could just treat that rust, or is it better just to cut it out?
I need to feel it real quick.
There's a light in a mirror.
Thank you, sir. Alright, so I'm going to inspect the back side of this rocker first. I need to get the rest of the goodies out of the way. Nice little inspection mirror. Thank you, Travis.
Yes, sir.
It really is like going to the dentist. So there is some pretty serious rust down along here, so I might trim a little further, or like Travis recommended, I might just go ahead and treat it with a rust killer and preventer, because it's not super scaly.
So it's not a cavity.
No.
In our dentist analogy.
This side looks pretty good.
Cool.
This side looks pretty good. Oops. Nice and clean. All right, so just a quick recap. I did a little rust discovery, then a little panel cutting, and then a little internal discovery to see exactly how the rest of our panel was looking. Now, I'm on to getting the last of the metal slag out of the way, and then I'll make my template for this exact shape, so that way I can start cutting my fresh metal to this.
And what awesome tool are we going to use for this?
I'm about to use Travis's favorite, the belt sander, to knock out my spot welds down here. Like I said, just get rid of the last of the slag, and we'll be moving.
And this thing is a beast on, a separate note, this thing is a beast on spot welds.
Absolutely eats metal alive. Alright, so
I see two. What do you see?
I see potentially one, potentially two, potentially three. But I feel like there's going to be more than that. I think they're just hiding from us. That's definitely one. I think that's two. And I think that's three.
Why is it so important that we prep and clean our surface that we're going to weld?
So that way when I go to weld, it doesn't feed burning paint into my weld as a contaminant. It just makes it a cleaner, more secure, hotter weld, allowing it to penetrate the metal a lot better. Also, as you can see here, there's not a lot required to do a job like this. I have a cutoff wheel, just a single hammer, a pick, a screwdriver, a couple of grinders, and an air saw. And the air saw is really optional. It just, I had it and it makes my life easier. So it's really not a lot of tools required to cut out some metal and replace some rust. After you get everything cut out and prepped, ready to start welding, you take your construction paper or template paper, and this is where the fun begins. So what you're going to do is you're going to tape it up there just like that. You can take virtually anything and you just want to run it along the edge of the metal, and that's going to make an outline for where you need to cut. And then this paper then transfers onto your metal, so you know exactly what size and shape you're using or you need to make for your patch. But it now has scribed the edge of my cut all the way around. So I cut that out and then I'll mark on my paper and my metal where I need to put my brakes or bends in the new panel. So as you can see, that's where one bend is going to be, that's where the second, and then that's going to be a reverse 90 for my lower flange. Now template paper, you put it down on your metal and you trace it. And now I will have the exact piece of metal that I need to make this patch. When I am doing a hard brake, the way I mark that out, it's just a solid line. Now when I'm doing a brake that is not a 90 degree or sharper, use a dotted line. Just so that way, the entire time I'm working on this panel, I can look at it and know exactly what my indicators are of what will be going on with this panel. So if you've watched our previous videos, you've seen these awesome little shears that just attach right into your regular drill. And that just makes cutting just so much easier.
It is a breeze compared to hand shears, I'll tell you that for sure.
And I don't cramp up, which is even better. You can go slow with it, make sure you stay precise. They actually stay pretty straight wherever you want them, so you can also run with it pretty fast. It's not too bad either way. We're going to use this hammer and we're going to flatten these edges. So traditionally, we would do this on a brake. However, we're working out of a garage, so we may not always have the luxury of a brake, which is all right. We can work around it, we can make do. That's the fun of garage builds, right? So we're going to try our hand at putting a slight bend in this using the vise. So I'm going to start by pushing, seeing how well that does for me. That's not too bad, because mind you, this one doesn't need to be an aggressive brake. This one is just a little bit of a bend for a body line. So I'm just putting the vise right under where my marking is, because I know that by the time I fold it over, it's going to fold it pretty well where I need it to fold at. If I was to go right on it, it would fold it right above where I need it to. I don't want that. Alright, we have our first bend. Now let's check to the car and see how much further we need to go on it. Well, hot darn. It's not bad over here. It needs just a little bit more bending, but it needs a little more over here than it does over there. Which, not bad. I mean, that's all things that we can adjust right now. I can work with that. Alright, so like I said, traditionally we'd be using a brake for this. However, we're in the garage. When you're in the garage, sometimes you just gotta figure it out. Again, that's part of what I like about it. You guys may laugh about this. I couldn't use the vise because the mouth on it is not deep enough. The only thing I could think of quickly was unscrew Travis's workbench, kind of jam it in there, and now I have a brake. And it is doing exactly what I needed to do, exactly where I needed to do it. So to get a little more pronounced, I'll just take a hammer and I'll just massage it. There we are. We have most of the shape of the rocker panel now. not looking too bad. Obviously too deep there because that's going to turn into a 90, so I can't quite fit the rest of that up. So I'm going to go ahead and just throw my 90 in there real quick and see about where we're at. We're not in a metal shop right now. Nothing fancy, man. Travis doesn't do sheet metal for a living, so he's not going to have all the tools that some of us might have at the shop. Don't let that stop you because, man, we just made this with a vice grip and a workbench. And that's going to be an all right patch. So it doesn't take $100,000 worth of equipment to get it done. Sometimes you have to get a little inventive. You gotta use your imagination. But I enjoy that part of it. And we're looking like we've got a rocker patch here. That's not too bad, guys. That's not too bad. We are roughly fit. I'm just gonna be changing the pitch of my angles. Right now they're a little sharp, but I am just about ready to start getting it fabbed up onto the car. After I get some of these angles right, I can weld it and then finish doing my final shaping on the vehicle. Looking to make sure my body lines meet up. If they're a little too far this way, that's fine, because I can just overlap that and trim my top edge. Now if they're a little too far this way, it'll be a little trickier because obviously you have that bottomed out on the inner rocker. Or too far up, excuse me, on this body line over here. It's pretty good over there, so I just veered down a little bit. So to get that right, you just put it right back in the vise or the brake. You clamp it down, and that's going to help straighten it out. And then you just reapply pressure. Changed around my angles quite a bit. Now I have it to where it's fitting, but it is overlapping the top, which, like I said, that's fine because I can go through and trim that top edge. The important thing are now my two body lines line up on each side. So I'm going to go ahead and paint the back of this so that way it's corrosion protected, and then I'm going to tack it on, and then I'm going to take my air saw and I'm going to trim the rocker itself instead of manipulating my patch, because I'm happy with my patch.
Tyler painted the back side. I had this Eastwood chassis back sitting around. I mean, obviously we don't need anything too fancy.
Just want to cover up the metal is basically it. I went ahead and sprayed it on the inside of the rocker as well, just to cover up the rust with some paint.
And then we got this cool gadget. You know, I've never seen this cavity wax done in person, so this is going to be pretty cool. Tell us a little bit about cavity wax and why we're going to extend this guy all the way in so we can try to prevent rust from happening in the rest of the rocker.
So cavity wax, much like old traditional wax on the exterior of your vehicle, it doesn't let water just sit there. The water tends to roll around a lot better, so it will dry in the rocker with cavity wax, given any moisture gets in there. It just doesn't give it the chance to settle on the metal. It will just sit on top of the wax that we spray in there and should just eventually rush out or evaporate without even touching the metal. Out with the old, in with the new. All right, so obviously you want to have your helmet on while you're welding. However, we're just doing a couple of quick tacks just to place the panel up there, so that way I can finish sizing it up like I was telling you guys. So now I will just trim the rocker panel itself with my saw, and it'll fall right into place, and then I can start tacking all the way around it. Well, I've got it all sized up exactly how I needed it. I trimmed up the rest of the rocker like I said I was going to. I've tacked it all the way around. My patch panel is officially all the way in place. So now I'm just going to kind of chase myself around, tack welding all the way around as I go. I'm not going to stay in one spot for too long because I don't want to get the metal too hot out here. So it's kind of like ring around the rosy. I'm just going to go just like that, around the border of it, all the way around, several times, as many times as it takes to get a solid welded up all the way. What's going on, guys? So you're in luck. This is a two-parter. That's right. We made the first one kind of a little long. Well, it would have been a little long if it was just
yeah, it would have been like 16 minutes. Woo!
So instead we're doing two parts. Part one, we're going to finish up with all of the fab work, getting your metal in, getting your old metal out. Part two is all of the rest of the fun stuff, the body work, the primer, and lastly the paint.
Exactly, the stuff that I have absolutely no idea about. I knew a little bit about, you know, the metal fabrication on the automotive side, which I learned a ton today, just like I hope you guys did. But this part is totally foreign to me, and so if you're interested, stick around, hit up part two. Once part two drops, I'll throw it up in the top right corner of this video. That way you can link directly to it and see what we're about to do to make this rocker look exactly like it did in 1972. Thanks for watching. I'm T-Brand.
I'm Tyler with Bronson Speed. Catch us on the next one.